So if you are friends with someone, best friends with someone, true friends with someone, and you want to have sex with them, you probably want to be in a relationship with them.
What is going on, guys? Welcome to Bearded Discussion Podcast, the show that talks about what it means to be a man in the 21st century. I'm your host, Simon Binkowski, a self-proclaimed fitness fanatic, and I'm on a journey to challenge stereotypes about men. Every week, me and my guests will bring you amazing conversations about masculinity, relationships, fitness, sex, and many more. Now, let's jump into the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Bearded Discussion Podcast. Today with me, I have the first female that is joining the Bearded Discussion family. Her name is Heather Padbury. Welcome to the show, Heather.
Hey, good to be here.
Thank you for being here.
No worries.
Yes, you're the first female on this podcast, so you essentially no pressure. Going to be talking in the name of all women. So no pressure there.
Well, I don't have a beard. Am I still allowed to talk?
Of course you are. This podcast is open for everyone, so you definitely are welcome to join.
Cool.
I wanted to ask you something that I've been thinking about off and on for quite a while. I wanted to ask you a question. Can men and women ever truly be friends? I know that some listeners might misunderstand it and say that, of course, women and men can be friends, but I'm talking more specifically about, of course, men and women can be friends, but there is a certain point after which things change. Or can men and women ever be true friends, best friends?
Best friends.
Yeah,
it's an interesting question. It's a big question, isn't it? It's one of those questions that's got multiple facets to it.
Yeah,
I think it depends on a few things. The first thing that springs to mind is what do you consider a true friend to be? If we're analyzing this and saying, what does this mean? So what's a true friend to you? So for me, that's someone that I can depend on, someone that knows they can depend on me, someone that has probably been through thick and thin with me.
Yeah.
Somebody that maybe I don't see every day, someone that I have trust in, who has trust in me.
Yeah.
Though you might have many, many friends, how many friends like that do you have in your life? I don't think I've got more than, 5 in my life. They know who they are, obviously.
Yeah.
Can't say names because that'll be confusing. But yeah, I think you start there. What's the definition of a true friend? What would it mean to you?
Definitely someone that I can confide in and someone that I've been sort of through thick and thin with.
Yeah.
But the relationship itself between men and women is a specific one, because talking from a man point of view, there is a high probability that you might see a certain situation or the person, something happens in your guys' sort of friendship or relationship or whatever, and then you see things as more sexual, or you're more attracted to that to your female friend, and obviously that's when things change. But do you?
Yeah, I think we're definitely talking about two heterosexual friends here.
Yeah.
So, if you're a straight guy, friends with a straight girl, it's possible to be attracted to people. You normally know, early on in your friendship with someone, whether or not you fancy them, I think. Although,
that's true.
There are times when that doesn't happen. You're saying, something could change.
Yeah.
But I think it's really interesting to think about, the friends in your life, and the friends that that your friends have, where do they come from? A friend that you've had for 20 years, let's say, a straight woman, you're a straight guy, would you 20 years down the line start to find that person attractive out of the blue for no reason?
You could, just because, initially, if you when you meet that person, you might not be attracted to her. Talking obviously from a guy's point of view, but then as you go through different situations with them, like, I don't know, you have something happening in your life, the girl has something happening in her life. These kind of situations bring you together, and that's when feelings might come in as well.
So I guess if that's the case, and if we're just looking at that scenario uniquely, what's the problem?
I'm not saying that is a problem, but
there's something, let nature take its course, right? Like if you're both attracted to each other, great. If one of you knows you're attracted to the other one and you're thinking, oh God, we've got a solid friendship here.
Yeah.
That I've never felt attracted to you before in my life, but now we've gone closer and closer and closer. I start to find myself being attracted to you. Do you not ask yourself the question, maybe it was always there all along, maybe it was always underneath and I never acted on it, or I never saw it before,
That's true.
Do you think that can be true? Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been in a situation like that where I was a friend with someone and then I started finding them attractive. But that's when like the complications come in, meaning you just, you've been friends for a while. You don't want to ruin that for anything really. And then how do you then approach, the romantic feelings that you have?
Yeah, it's definitely an awkward one.
That's when like friend zoning comes in and things like that, right?
You've been friend zoned before?
Oh, of course. Every guy has.
It's one of those things that like everyone either doesn't know it's happened to them and will go, no, like obviously like it's never happened to me.
Yeah.
Or it happens to you all the time and you're oblivious to it. I think that can happen. Like I've definitely, I've definitely done it to people, if we're going to talk about it as a thing you do, like I think whether or not you're attracted to someone.
Yeah.
And if you meet a guy and you're not attracted to that guy, let's actually, what would make more sense is if we kind of think about settings, like in what situations might you meet someone? So like, obviously you're going to have your childhood friends. We'll put them to one side for a second because that's a whole other kettle of fish. But if we're just talking about, as maybe like thinking about from the age of 20 onwards, you might have finished uni around then, you've lived a bit of a life, you might be living on your own or living in a shared house. Maybe you're moving out for the first time, you end up in a shared house and there's a man there, and you're a woman. And you find that person physically attracted when you first see them.
Yeah.
That could happen. And that's a scenario in which you could meet someone that you become friends with. You can meet someone, I mean, not so much nowadays, obviously, but you can meet someone in a pub, you can meet someone in a club, meet someone, on a forum online. There's so many places where you can meet people when you're not going there to look for a partner. Like if you go on Tinder, you're looking for something, right? You're looking for sex, you're looking for love, you're looking for something to make you feel good. You're not going to a pub because you're looking for those things necessarily. So I think it helps to kind of think about, right, well, within what situation do I meet these people? And does that then dictate whether or not I allow myself to give in to those feelings of attraction and act on them, or that it's not appropriate? Maybe if I live with someone and it's a shared house situation, it's not appropriate straight away to be like, hey, we've just moved in together, but I think you're fit. Let's be, let's have sex. Yeah. It's not the same thing as going, oh, you know what? This guy's attractive. He might be attracted to me, but we live together. Let's not make it weird. And obviously this is like as if you're single.
Well, that's actually what I was going to ask. How obviously there is a difference, but how do you think the situation is different when you're single versus when you're in a relationship? Obviously when you're in a relationship and you don't want to, I know there's many different factors because, you might feel like you met the one somehow or whatever, and that person isn't the person that you're in a relationship with. But
Oh, that's a good one. So you're in a
yeah.
relationship and then you meet someone else and then that person you think might be the one.
Yeah,
And that person is a friend. Well, then are they ever your friend?
Well,
like when does the friend happen?
I wouldn't say that they're a friend, because obviously you have to get into a situation and then start developing that. It's just I'm saying that, you know, if you're single,
Okay.
you're more open-minded to whatever happens, really. And when
I
you're in
think
a
what we're
relationship,
saying is friendship is a stepping stone
yeah,
to something else.
yeah,
And you can stay on that stepping stone forever with someone. But the idea will always be you're going up the stairs because you want to get to somewhere else, and that somewhere else could be true friendship, because that's an elevated place from friends.
Yeah.
But like what you're saying really is that the intention is always going to be in the back of your mind. This is going somewhere. Like it might be
I'm saying more like the intention might be, because I think we going slightly off the topic. Like we not necessarily, women and men can be friends, but from a guy's perspective, there is a high probability that you will see something sexual as part of that friendship with that person, whether you actually, regardless of whether you actually want to be with them or not. There is a sexual aspect to it.
Okay. Well, I don't know if it's necessarily different for women. So I don't think you could say like friendship of any kind has never included any kind of sexual thoughts if there's attraction there. Now, would you be friends with someone that you're not attracted to? That's a good question. Would you actually become friends with someone that doesn't have a quality that you find attractive, whether or not that could be as simple as something like, this guy is hilarious, I want to be around him because he makes me laugh, you know? Yeah. And that's not, I physically find him attractive and therefore I can't see him without thinking about being sexual with him. So I'm like, there are going to be situations in which that doesn't happen though. So
okay, like what?
Think about friends that you have out of necessity.
Okay.
Yeah. So friends that you have because you were kind of thrust together in a situation. And I'm talking about school, I'm talking about work, I'm talking about institutionalized friendships that exist because you were kind of forced to have them, or else you know, and you know what, more power to the loners of this world, because it was something that I could never do growing up. But you know, you're 5 years old, you're at school for the first time, you're seeing people who are not like your people who live down the street or your cousins or your brothers or whatever. Like you're meeting like real kids and you need some friends. Are those friends, as you grow, people that you still want to hang out with? Not necessarily. I'm sure it's happened to you, right? Like as you get older, like some of your friendships, you
obviously lose friends,
they drop off.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's because what you initially felt, i.e. that like need to be clumped together because you had to have friends, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
So, but is the same true of work? Because it's the same thing, right? Like you work in a company.
Yeah.
You want to have friends there. You may make friends there. You may not. You may not be friends with everybody there because you know what you like. You know what you're attracted to in a person by that time. And I think that's a really interesting topic. Like if you have friends in institutionalized, created situations like that, where you're not going out, you know, to a bar or whatever and meeting someone or a festival or a gig or whatever, like those friends, are they really your friends?
Well, probably not. You might have maybe one or two people from it that become your friends, but in general, no, right? It's just a, like you said, it's just a situation that you sort of put in, and you have to
situational friends.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's a weird concept, isn't it? Like,
absolutely,
we don't really think about it like that. But I think in those situations where you're kind of thrust together because you have to be, there's probably more opportunity to be attracted to each other. Do you know what I mean? Because you're
absolutely.
You're all in this situation. You haven't got any ties to each other. You could be attracted to each other.
But then, if you are in that situation, if you are attracted to each other, trying to get together and be together is very often frowned upon, right? Because you don't necessarily want to have.
You don't want to shit what you eat.
As a CEO or whatever, you don't necessarily want to have people that work in the same company be in relationships together, because, if that doesn't work out, there's going to be all this drama that then the business will have to deal with. And
so much drama.
Yeah. Well, so much usually, drama. Right?
Well, my personal experience has not been that. Like, I met my current partner through work.
Yeah.
So when I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking about him, and how we met. We were friends for a year or so before we got together, and we met through that shared situational experience of work. And we don't work together anymore.
But if you don't mind talking a little bit about that, wasn't that from the company's point of view, wasn't that sort of like on a hush frowned upon, as in like we don't necessarily
on the hush.
We don't advise that. It's not that we don't condone that or we don't want it to happen. It's just we don't advise that or whatever.
I think we were lucky because we got together at a time when the company was very small. And so things like that, there wasn't really many people to frown upon it.
Yeah.
Having said that, like, we definitely are private people and didn't necessarily want the world to know what we were getting up to, because your relationship is yours. It's your time. It doesn't have to be everyone's business. And I think that's interesting too. And then you've got the other side of friendship turning into more. What do people think about that? Not just what do your work colleagues and your bosses say about a relationship that comes seemingly out of nowhere, or out of a friendship that you didn't realize was always going to be something more. And that is truly how I feel about that relationship. We were friends. There was always something,
Yeah.
There was always, and I'm grateful that, it turned into what it did, because I'm very happy now.
Yeah.
But it could have gone the other way if we hadn't both felt the same way. If we were friends, if we were friends and, he didn't find me attractive and he didn't want to go there, then, something different would have happened. Our lives would have been completely different. But going back to my point, you do have that kind of fear of, if you're in a friendship group and you break that friendship group up by coupling up two of you, then there's always going to be that little fear of, oh God, what are they going to say? What are other friends going to say? Have you had any experiences like that before?
Where I was in a group of friends and then, I've had an experience like that where I had a group of friends. I was attracted to one of my friends, and it was all great for a while, and then it didn't work out, and then the group of friends or whatever as a whole is sort of dissipated, and it just happened to be like that. That's interesting.
That I think that's the kind of thing I'm talking about. It's like, actually friends becoming more is okay, but maybe when friends become more and then break up, that's when it has a bigger effect.
Absolutely.
Like, I've had the same thing. I've had, I've broken up with boyfriends where all of our friends were together that we shared. And I then broke away and lost the friends, and, things like that. Things like that are sad, because you might think, you have friends because of who you are and what you mean to them.
Absolutely.
But that's when you really learn what true friendship means, like we were talking about at the beginning of the call. It's like, are you really friends with these people if you're friends with them because of the couple? And then what happens if you're in a relationship and you're friends with these other people who you're friends with because of the relationship, and then the relationship ends, are you still friends with those people? If you feel super close to them, are you still really friends with them? And then what happens? Can you really be friends with that person if you're attracted to them? I kind of think that's really where
that's a separate topic as well.
Yeah, that
right?
we could spend hours talking about that.
Yeah.
I think if we think again about men and women, some of the things that we've thought about, like, does it matter like where you met someone? Because I think it does.
It does, definitely. If there is a huge difference when you go to a club, because you go to a club to have a good time, yeah, but you're more open-minded if someone comes up and talks to you. You're more open-minded too. But then you're not friends. It's just either a one-night stand or a stranger that you met in a club. And
this is some of your favorite people, right? Like one interaction that you have with someone in a club, as a woman especially, like girls will know, like that girl that you meet in the bathroom who's your best friend for 10 minutes, like they're some of the more memorable people in your life that you meet.
I bet.
Yeah, exactly. And in some places they have unisex bathrooms. You could meet a guy who's your best friend for 10 minutes, and that.
What places
and there's no
have
attraction
unisex
then.
bathrooms?
Loads of places, millions of places.
I've never met a place like that. If they did exist, they probably don't anymore.
I'm gonna have to Google it.
Yeah,
so that
probably.
I'm gonna tell you at some other point. But yeah, if you were in a situation where you met so when you make this like 10-minute friend, the person that I'm talking about, maybe you're a girl in the bathroom and you've accidentally tucked your skirt into your pants, right? And you don't realize it. And then a girl will be like, hey, you've tucked your skirt into your pants. And you'll be like, oh, I'm such a knob. Thank you very much. That's brilliant. And then she'll compliment you on your shoes and you'll compliment her on her hair. And then you'll tell each other your life story and you'll end up crying and redoing each other's makeup. And it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. Women are beautiful people. That experience could still be true of a man and a woman, depending on whether or not the man is willing to say, hey, you've tucked your skirt into your pants. And whether or not the woman is willing to say, hey, I like your shoes.
It could be if a guy said that, it could be seen differently, right? As if a girl
your skirt into your pants, in a weird, creepy way.
No, he could say it in a normal way, but it could be seen differently. I'm assuming.
Well, I guess
because it's a guy saying that and not a girl, right?
I think this is so very living in a very heteronormative world, right? This is where men and women have defined personas defined by their sexuality. And in the world, you won't necessarily know if the man or woman that you're speaking to is ever going to have the hots for you, because you don't know their sexuality when you meet them. So making assumptions, like, you can't really do that because unless someone says to you, hey, I'm a proud gay man, I'm not going to be attracted to you. You're just not gonna know. So that's another thing. You may be attracted to a woman friend that you have.
Yeah.
But you should know if she's your friend. You should know if she's straight.
But let me ask you this: Is it always up to the woman to dictate where the relationship goes? Because even as a guy, you might meet a girl, you find her attractive. You might want to take it further, even if it's in the same group of friends, or you have a friendship already developed with that girl. Is it then always up to the girl to dictate where that relationship goes? Because obviously, as a guy, we like to see it. No,
definitely not. Like, men might think that, and obviously, I'm generalizing a lot by saying men might do anything. I think it completely depends on the friendship. Depends on the friendship. Like, if your friendship is defined by shared experiences, you go to the same gigs together, you go to movies together, you do things that couples might do together.
Yeah.
And you go out, just the two of you. If you have a friendship like that, with and you're both single, I think that's also important. You're both straight, you're both single, you've been best friends for years. There should be an openness and a space for vulnerability within that friendship. And that should allow either person to be able to say, hey, I'm attracted to you. What we're going to do about it, and for the other person to say, I don't feel that way, but I'm glad that you told me because I want to be here for you, And I think that's like the ideal, most mature way of doing things. It's probably not what happens.
that's a thin line to something like friends with benefits.
Well, that's another thing entirely. Like, what the fuck is friends with benefits?
Why are relationships so complicated? Any type of relationships?
They're all shit, aren't they? Like, I love being in a relationship now, but let's say I'm not. Use myself as the example for talking about what the fuck friends with benefits is, because so if you are friends with someone, best friends with someone, true friends with someone, and you want to have sex with them, you probably want to be in a relationship with them. If you are not true friends with someone, and you're like level 1 friends with some attractiveness there, and you want to have sex with them, maybe you don't want to be in a relationship with them. What does that mean?
I've been in a situation like that, and it definitely didn't start out as wanting to be in a relationship, but it developed into a relationship after.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very unusual.
But then that was my point. That was my feeling, my point of view. Obviously, I can't speak for the other person, but and it is a generalization. But from a woman's point of view, girl's point of view, when you have that option to be friends with benefits, does that automatically suggest that something serious might be on the line?
It depends on the woman, for sure. It does. And I think that everybody wants to feel loved and they have love to give. Yeah. Some people who have gone through a shit time and been made to feel unworthy may not realize that they're deserving of love. So they may enter into a friends with benefits situation thinking, well, I don't want to be with him anyway because love's not for me. I'm happy just to live my life as an independent woman and have sex whenever I want to because I've got this guy that I can call, and I think most people in the world have been there. But for me, anyway, it goes back to a feeling of unworthiness, and it's not something you realize at the time. It's not something that you can accept at the time because you're fully under the impression that this is what you want. You're like, of course, this is what I want. I've got all the control. Look at me with all my control. Yeah. But it's not true. You don't have control because you can't control your feelings and you can't control your situation and you can't control their feelings and their situation. So for me, the best friends with benefits situation is
one that doesn't
genuinely happen. Well, no, I think if you're both busy. Like it's more like a relationship with someone who's super busy. If you were both for doctors or something where you'd have like chefs, you'd have to work like 16-hour shifts. You legit don't have time to do all of the lovely things you want to do in a relationship. Then calling it friends with benefits is probably a silly thing to do. But having a relationship that is kind of quite non-committal, and that you don't actually have to put that much time into. Yeah. And you both respect each other's schedules. You both respect the fact that each other has something else going on, but you still really like each other and you have great sex, but you don't want to stop doing that. Yeah. I think it's more of it's like a non-committal relationship, because if you're friends, then you're friends for a reason. Now, that's not the same as saying I sleep with someone on the regs that I have no attachment to. Yeah. That's different. So there will be people in your life that you are attracted to physically that bore you to shit, but you have sex with them anyway because you're young and stupid and you want to because it's what you want. Yeah. Now, I don't know if that's friends with benefits, but it's
No, that's desperation.
The friends. Yeah, no, well, all right, call it what you want. But it skips the friendship. And I think that's interesting too. Like, as a man or as a woman, you can choose to skip the friendship with someone and just go straight to, you know, meeting someone, having a great night, wanting to have another great night, but not wanting to actually get to know that person.
Yeah,
which is where friendship comes from.
Yeah, you don't want to have all that sort of emotional baggage and attachment and things like that. It's just purely physical, right?
It's not just that. Like, definitely, like, you don't want that, but you wouldn't even be thinking about it because you don't know the person.
Yeah.
Because you may have had one great night with them and have a couple of conversations. Obviously, these are very specific examples, and not everything can be generalized into like 2 or 3 different things. But I think what we're both saying is men and women can be friends, or straight men and women, straight single men and women can be friends.
It's 2020. You gotta be specific about those things.
This is it. You know, like, things will be different in the future. But yeah, straight single men and women, which is the demographic that we're talking about today, we believe can be friends.
Yeah.
But if you're in any of those categories that we've mentioned, you probably don't want to be friends with that person.
All of it is it's a thin line that you're walking on, and it's such a balance and like balancing act where like what's the word, like the borders,
the plates,
the borderlines sort of like fade because it's such a thin line, and you just
do you ever feel like you might cross that line? Do you ever worry that you might cross that line? Like, if you were a straight single man, like, would you worry about that?
I would worry about it after I crossed it, probably.
Cross it first.
Yeah.
Ask for forgiveness.
Cross it first, and then deal with the consequences after. Like I said, I've been in a situation like that where I have been friends for years, and then it developed into something else. It just naturally happens. It wasn't. I initially really wasn't going into it with any like attraction or anything. It was strictly just a friendship. It wasn't a close friendship, but it was a friendship.
Aha. That's the thing, isn't it? It wasn't a close friendship. So again, it goes back to that definition of close or definition of true friendship. Like, think about your best friend.
Well, I think there is different. Go on.
There are 2 ways of looking at this. Either your best friend is someone that you've always loved, and that love for you could blur. Yeah. Because you love that person so much.
Yeah.
That you want to be around them forever, and they are beautiful to you.
Yeah.
And that could be a blurry friendship that other people don't understand. That's okay, because you don't care, because your best friend is amazing. Or you could be best friends with someone that you've always secretly been attracted to, and you're doing the whole unrequited love thing, where you're just kind of hanging on being best friends with someone that you really wish would see you for who you are.
Yeah.
And it never really does.
Yeah. Tell me.
Have you read the book? Oh, there you go. Go ahead.
No. What book?
One Day.
No.
Okay. I recommend the book. It has some of those themes in it. It's essentially about uni friends who kind of, I think they hook up once and then never again. And then it just tells the story of their lives and how their friendship developed, and then what happens to them in later life when they have realizations of sorts. And I don't want to tell you too much because it's a really good book.
All right, check it out. One day.
Check it out. One day. I actually have it, and I will let you borrow it at some point. I'll send it over. It's a good one.
I wanted to ask, what do you think about guys, because there are lots of them that use that pattern of becoming friends to essentially get into a relationship or create something more romantic with that person. There are a lot of guys that using that to achieve, like they don't go into it thinking about a friendship. They go into it thinking about, I want to get into a relationship with that person, but they use the friendship as that catalyst to that. And I don't think that's a fully fair. That's not a fair way to treat that person that you want to be with.
If you want to be with them so much, why don't you want to be friends with them? Like, be friends. How will you know if you want to be with someone in a relationship if you're not friends with them? You know what I mean?
I know, but like in a guy's world, essentially, there's a lot of
talk me through it. Put me on your head. Put me in the head of a fuckboy.
Yeah, there's a lot of fuckboys out there that essentially either can use that as, you know, you can use like self-pity or something to get sex, essentially. You can approach the situation like wanting to be friends, but really your main intention is to fuck the girl or get into a relationship with her. But in most cases, it's probably have sex with the girl rather than.
Well, girls do that too. Like, it's not just a boy thing. Like, definitely girls do that too.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
I thought it was mainly like fuckboys that do that.
Well, we don't want to get stuck with a label, do we? It's fuckboys for a reason. We've been clever there. I think if you're you know, a strong independent woman and you're not looking for a relationship, many women out there like that, you can approach someone with the intention of sleeping with them and create a kind of like semi-friendship. I don't think women are. I think it does depend on the person, but it's like, do you have a conscience or don't you? Do you give a shit about the person or don't you? And if you don't give a shit about them and you just want to sleep with them because you're thinking about yourself, you're not going to enjoy yourself. They're not going to enjoy themselves. Like, ultimately, it's not going to fulfill you. And if it doesn't fulfill you, you'll always feel empty. And then you'll find it difficult to have a real relationship with someone when the time comes for you. Yeah. And you'll be stuck in a cycle of fucking yourself over all the time. And then the other thing is when you're the fuckboy and you're trying to get with the girl and you use the friendship tactic to try and get in the girl's pants, but then the girl friend zones you. And what do? You
move on, probably.
Well, I don't. Do you know what I missed? And this is something
getting out of a friend zone is just.
I don't really know if I've ever really done it. Like,
I'm sure
I don't know if I've been friend zoned before. Okay. I don't think I have. Okay. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I don't think it's happened to me. It may well have done, and I don't know about it. But that means I don't care enough about the guys that tried to friend zone me. Yeah. I don't know how often I've done it either. I can't think back and think of a specific person that I've done it to. Yeah. Because most of the time, you know, I've ended up in relationships with the men that I know in my life. So, you know, that's just the way it is. But I think when it comes to getting over something like that, you kind of, it's going to have long lasting effects on you. You can't ever just like snap out of it and be fine forever. Yeah. So there's emotional consequences to everything. Definitely. Even if you don't want them to be.
Definitely. Like I said, all this, the relationship, friendship, men and women sort of interactions is such a thin line and balancing act where you know, you have to be true to yourself and true to the other person and you know, be open and honest with whatever your intentions are.
For sure. I think if you know what you want in a friend and you understand what values you share and what values your friends share, then it's not going to matter what sex they are, what gender they are. It's just going to be a true friend that you're grateful to have. Yeah. And if you're in a happy relationship, you're not thinking about fucking other people. And if you are, you're not in a happy relationship.
That is true. I really enjoyed this. Yeah, of course. We've all been there. I really enjoyed this conversation. It's conversations like that can go on for hours and hours, and you never really you never really set out to get any sort of an answer. It's just enjoyable to talk about and you know, just trying to navigate life essentially.
That's all we're here to do, right? Navigate that shit.
Exactly.
Be good to each other and be happy.
Absolutely. All in all, women and men can be friends. Just be honest and be open with your intentions, and that's it. Right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Space for vulnerability, openness.
Absolutely.
Good.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you, Heather, for coming onto the show. It was a real pleasure talking to you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, everybody,
great
for listening.
time.
I had a fantastic time as well. Thank you very much again. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Tune in next week. See ya. Bye. Thank you for listening to Bearded Discussion Podcast. If you like the show, subscribe and follow your host, Simon Binkowski, on YouTube and Instagram. Share it with your friends and tune in next week. See ya.